how cool the that was neat.
I think I said that to the chambers.
Vanderbilt, a lot more like credit for their. I could see like when that.
You're from there. I know. That's why I thought I could maybe go there.
It's not going to be an SEC.
Okay. I thought I could go there. Maybe you know, but they have mostly Vanderbilt fans there. Yeah, that's not bad.
There's no way they're going to keep Clark Lee. I mean, congratulations. I know. Such a bad job.
16 points against our team.
He got lucky in the end. You're not always going to get it. Although they have had They weren't. It wasn't really triple. I sometimes have to call it like one of the triple option, but it's not. It's like option.
Full on option. They can become the SEC Service Academy.
Honestly, it wouldn't be the worst if you can't recruit and you have the ability. They also, it's not only like they can't recruit, they have like handicap like academic.
Yeah.
So like probably smart. Like.
Basically known as D team. Yes, every SEC has to play on for even though they want to.
I've said the triple option, but I guess option is like communism. Like it can get you to a certain level. You're never gonna be great with it, but like it can rescue you to a certain level.
Okay. They give you ones like that.
Yeah.
I'd love to put a little 40 piece on their shelf.
I'm impressed. You can sell me on my garage. Because he didn't. I didn't see
I just didn't mistake your spot.
That's a great
All right, everybody, we'll have Coach begin with an opening statement, and then we'll go ahead and take some questions. We'll try to get them all in, okay? Go ahead, Coach.
All right. I thought reviewing back on last week's game, I didn't think we played the way the game is supposed to be played from a defensive perspective, which is, for us, playing with tremendous effort and finish, hard shoulder tackling, playing with violent hands and block destruction up front, and then certainly having an urgency to create takeaways, and we did not do that to any level of consistency. Certainly that's not acceptable, not something that any of us as coaches or players are going to accept from ourselves. I thought, when you look at the game, our keys to victory, number one, was to do our job and to do it with consistency, and when the ball declares, play with a high level of intensity and urgency, and I thought we played too much on our heels against them. I thought, number 2 was to be situationally elite, which we have been at times, but this season. But I thought one of the real keys to the game as we started making adjustments against the run is that we were not able to get off the field on 3rd and long situations. That's something that we've really been, we've excelled at this season thus far, but we were not able to do it in the game, and so certainly some things that we've got to make sure that we get adjusted and tweaked so that we can get back to playing great 3rd down defense. And then, create takeaways was our 3rd key to victory. And we felt like it was an opportunity for us to take the ball off them if we played aggressive and physical. Credit them. They did a great job of taking care of the ball and still having an aggressive mindset in certain downs, and they managed the ball and the clock really well. So when we don't get any of our keys to victory done and we don't play with Bama fundamentals, that ultimately falls on me as the defensive coordinator. It's my responsibility to make sure that we get our players to play at the highest level possible and to become the best versions of themselves on game day, and we certainly did not get that done on Saturday. We are all have an urgency to get that cleaned up and to get that better moving forward. I thought the guys had a really good demeanor yesterday as we met with them. I thought they had the right mindset, very workmanlike, ready to get back to work, challenging each other, challenging themselves, had really great conversations with our staff, had really great conversations with our leadership on defense. In order to make sure that we're giving the players the things that they need to be at their best on game day. So credit them. They played with an edge. They had a bye week. They had a really good plan. They executed on kind of all their new things that they did, a lot of new things that we saw consistently throughout the game, not just in the first series. I thought for us, we adjusted to some of the things they did in the run game, but we didn't do it consistently. And then obviously on 3rd down, we didn't get off the field. So really those are the 2 things that, we feel like we've got to be focused on moving forward, becoming more consistent when we do see some of those non-traditional run pictures that the triple option presents to you, and then getting back to playing 3rd down defense the way that we have played. So felt like, really you look at 3rd down defense this past week and then 4th down defense in the second half against Georgia, not to the standard. So really for 6 quarters there, 3rd and 4th down, we have not operated the level that we're capable of. Otherwise, we're looking at probably different stories in both those games. So that being said, the guys are ready to respond on Saturday. We're already working to have a good plan thus far against South Carolina. Have tremendous respect for Shane Beamer, another coach's son, and have tremendous respect for his dad and the pedigree and legacy that he's grown up under. I think he's done a tremendous job everywhere he's been, both as an assistant and a coordinator in special teams, and certainly, what he's doing in terms of building momentum for that program overall. Dow Loggins, their offensive coordinator, I've known for a number of years. He was a walk-on quarterback at Arkansas when my dad was the defensive coordinator there, and then he kind of left right as I came in and played there at Arkansas as well. Has done a tremendous job in his career, numerous years in the NFL, and so they have done a really nice job of kind of fitting their personnel, getting their quarterback in position to be able to go make plays for them, both in the passing game and with his feet. So we'll have a tremendous challenge for us for sure. But our guys, myself included, our coaches cannot wait to get back out on the field on Saturday in Bryant-Denny. I think we're going to play with a level of urgency that our fans will appreciate, and a response that we all expect for Alabama to have on defense going into this week.
Thank you, Coach. Start front right here with Nick.
Yeah, you touched on adjustments a little bit, but could you get more into what adjustments you tried to make at halftime, and then how Vanderbilt responded to those adjustments? Yeah,
so I thought really some of the plays that they had in the first half were some things that we had not seen on film before. Some things that they were doing out of on-ball tight end pictures versus off-ball tight end pictures. We made some adjustments with our front and some things that we were doing with our defensive ends in terms of assignment responsibility, and that helped us out on first and second down, got them to a number of third and long third down situations where we didn't execute and get off the field. And then they did a really nice job of holding some things throughout the game, and so they would throw new wrinkles in consistently throughout the game, which kept us in a constant pursuit of adjusting to what they were doing. And I thought they had a really good game plan in that regard. But because we were not able to get off the field on third down, we also gave them more opportunities to keep throwing those wrinkles on. Whereas, you could point to probably 8 to 10 different third down situations where if we just get off the field right there, we're having a very different conversation about how we played there. So.
Front back, Chase.
Obviously, from the press box, we can't hear what's being said on the field, but it appeared from our vantage point that Malachi refused to be substituted for in the last minute. Can you clarify whether that was the case?
Well, Malachi Moore, I'm not sure anybody cares more about Alabama football than Malachi. And, in that moment, when emotions are running high, certainly, he has been held accountable, for some of the actions and the penalty that incurred there at the end of the game. I think Malachi's handled it really well with his teammates. We are, continuing to work to make sure that we address it the right way across the board. But I got to tell you, when we first got here, Malachi has had our back from day one as a coaching staff coming in. He's been incredibly supportive. He's been a great leader for our players. And really does things to the level and standard that we would want them to. Just in that moment, I think got a little bit emotional, and so in that moment we were going to try to settle him down just a little bit. Sometimes those situations, it's better just to let them calm at a later time. So, but again, I thought he has handled things really well since that point, and has taken the level of accountability that Coach DeBoer implemented, and has done a really good job moving forward.
Let's go to Ryan on the back right.
Coach, how do you evaluate rushing the passer through the first few games, and are you satisfied with what you're seeing so far? What are you challenging your guys to do?
Yeah, I think right now we have elements to being able to sustain being a good pass rushing defense. Right now, I think we're inconsistent against the athleticism that you're going to see week in and week out from some of these quarterbacks. It's really critical that you keep quarterbacks in the pocket. It limits their ability to see windows. It limits their timing, and really kind of constricts some of these throwing lanes that quarterbacks can see. We didn't do a good enough job of that, and that's probably one of the biggest indicators of us not executing on third downs. We gave them space. We gave him time to be able to make some decisions, and then we didn't address some things in man coverage well enough either, even when we had a chance to get a guy on the ground. So from a pass rush standpoint, I think we have shown some really positive attributes there, but not consistent enough, to play at the level we think we're capable of on third down defensively.
Let's go to Steven, back left.
Coach, what's kind of a next step of growth from the young corners, especially when you're in position, you're trying to make a play on the football, just turning it and attacking the ball?
I think, it was the number one key to victory that we talked about this week was do your job consistently, all right, with urgency and physicality. And do not get bored at doing the same high-level job over and over again. And that's really challenging for a corner, especially when you're dealing with an option-style team where, you're getting ran off, and all of a sudden now you're getting ran off and it's a go ball. It's a one-on-one. And you look at our corners, and those guys defended the ball in the air at times well, but we didn't do it consistently enough, to be able to make the play when it mattered most. And I thought that really, was kind of an overarching theme, is we didn't make the plays that we needed to make when the ball came our way as a defense, and they certainly made their plays, and that was ultimately the difference.
Let's go to Tony on the front left.
Yeah, just news just broke that Jaheim Otis has decided to opt out. Did you have a discussion with him about that, and kind of how did that go about?
I think for Jaheim, obviously, he's been battling some injuries. Has not been able to perform or produce the way that any of us would like. But my focus is really on the players that are going to do everything they can to help us win football games, and so that's really where my focus is right now.
Coach, simply put, how do you get this defense back on track?
Yeah, I think I think for us, it's making sure that we're keeping the main thing. For us as a defense, there's a lot of good things that we're doing. Certainly when you deal with a triple option style offense, there's certain elements and things that you need to make sure you get cleaned up moving forward. There's certain things that we put on tape that we may see moving forward, and there's other things that, are you're not going to see from a more traditional style offense. I think in times like this, it's natural for everyone to hit the panic button. And for us, I think we need to make sure that we're keeping the main thing. Are we playing with great Bama fundamentals? Are we leaning into our keys to victory on game day, and are those things showing up on tape? And then certainly for us, when you ask specifically, I think there's some things that we got to certainly clean up on 3rd and 4th down that really the last 6 quarters I don't think that we've done to the standard that we're capable of. So that being said, probably the only other piece to that is there is a way the game is supposed to be played from a defensive standpoint with physicality and urgency, and I thought we played a little too much on our heels last week, and certainly that's going to be the number one thought process as we game plan this week, is getting our guys to play at a really high physical level.
Go back to the left front with Colin.
I know you mentioned the difference between a team like Georgia or an offense like Georgia compared to an offense like Vanderbilt. Do you find any inconsistencies in terms of fundamentals that need to be improved over the course of those 6 quarters?
I think specifically when you look at it, really against Georgia, it was 4th down. Not getting stops on 4th down. There's some things in man coverage that we need to make sure that we're handling, and that goes across the board from the corners to the safeties to the linebacker support and man coverage. There's some things that we've got to make sure, coverage is handled differently, be it off the situation, whether it's red zone, open field. But on 3rd and 4th down, those windows have to be as tight as possible. And there's some things fundamentally that we can keep working to clean up. We have shown those things. I think, again, to answer the question that was brought up before, it's about building consistency in your young men. It's about building consistency in your young players, and some things that we've got to continue to be able to work through. I wish I had the magic genie button, whatever you want to say, hey, we're going to give these guys, the experience they need to be able to maneuver moving forward. But sometimes you got to go through some of these hardships and some of these challenges and adversities, and then expect your coaching and those players have an urgency to get things fixed moving forward. And that's certainly what I expect from us this Saturday.
All right, let's finish up with Michael right in the middle there.
We talk a lot about adjustments and game adjustments. Can you take us through the process of how things are identified and then solved in that whole process?
Well, you go into a game, right, knowing specifically this past week, right, anytime a team has a bye week, there's going to be a lot of wrinkles that you didn't see, particularly if you're dealing with a triple option style team. Those wrinkles are going to be, even more so because they're things that you don't see. You have a rep base in the spring ball and in fall camp that you're going through, and then the first 4 opponents that obviously when you deal with a team with this style offense, there's a lot of things that formationally you're going to see different. And then, from really an angle and leverage standpoint, you're going to see some different things as well. I thought we had a really good plan going into the game. I thought there were adjustments, that as we went in, we saw that there were some things in the first half that they were doing. We waited a couple of series to make sure that we're seeing things, properly, made small little tweaks and adjustments and calls. And then in second half, I thought we made some adjustments that allowed us to get them into 2nd and 8+ situations, and then, really 3rd and 7 or 8+ situations as well in the run. They averaged, I think it was 3 yards per carry in the game. So when you look at it, some of the exposure runs that we had early on were new things that I did think we adjusted adjusted to well. But you constantly are having those conversations about what schematically you want to call different, and then just fundamentally what you want to do differently in the game. And a lot of the things for us were just reinforcing fundamentals in our players. Hey, they are doing the things that we thought that they were going to do, or they may be doing one or two things that are a little bit different, and here's how we need to adjust fundamentally.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Okay, thanks, guys. Roll Tide.
All right, for Coach Sheridan, we'll go ahead and begin with questions right away. Let's start on the left side here with Tony, right here in front. Bring your hands up if you would, too, please.
Just what did you see from your offense and especially Jalen and his ability to kind of work with a limited clock against Vanderbilt?
I think the message for the players is anytime you don't win, you didn't do well enough. And so our job as an offense is to score one more point than the opponent, and we didn't do that this past Saturday. And so collectively very disappointed in that. We got to take advantage of the opportunities that we do get and capitalize on those, and we had more than enough opportunities to score more points, and we weren't able to do that. So there are a lot of plays that you're proud of, that the guys did a nice job and executed, but certainly we fell short in finding a way to win the game.
Emily Grace.
Coach, how much did your game management / plan get affected when the defense was unable to get off the field?
I think, that's our job, just to take advantage of the opportunities we get. And, the possessions where we didn't execute, they were very costly in the game. And you can't turn the football over. You have to flip the field when you're backed up. And we weren't able to do that in those moments. And, that was ultimately the difference in the game. And so, those are the areas that we need to do a better job of maintaining the execution throughout the course of the game. And we're working, tirelessly to solve those issues.
Go, Matt.
Yeah, just what did they do well to limit Jalen's kind of rushing ability in that game?
We didn't run him as much. I would say just, he had the one touchdown run in the red area. And just kind of how the flow of the game went, some of the different things that we did, the ball just went to other people. And so that's just kind of how the flow of the game went, and kind of the plays that we called and the plays that we were executing. They weren't necessarily designed for him to run. There was a couple of them that he popped through there, and the other ones were more, kind of off-schedule scramble type situations. So there weren't that many opportunities for him to run, and we didn't, call as many as maybe we've had throughout the, course of a game. But that's just kind of how the game unfolded.
Stay in the middle here. Let's go, Mike.
What went into Gino coming into the game at right guard, and how do you think he played?
I just kind of echoed just what I said earlier. Anytime you don't win, nobody played good enough, nobody coached good enough. And I'm not saying specifically Gino. I just think collectively as a whole, you take accountability. We're going to continue to put the players in the game that deserve to play, that have earned that in practice, to try to maximize the group. And there's different reasons for that. And that's why. And so we thought Gino deserved an opportunity to play. And so he went in there and like the rest of the group, did some nice things, but obviously not good enough collectively.
Always back, Ryan.
Coach, when the clock hit 0 for the loss, what have you seen since then with some of your leaders on the offense side of the ball to kind of step up in a hard time after this loss to Vanderbilt?
Well, we'll see tomorrow more specifically. Obviously we had a chance to be around the players yesterday and on the trip back, and early impressions were they were outstanding. and I think it reveals the character of who they are, which is excellent. And certainly, the week of prep will continue to give them opportunities to lead in the way that I know that they will. And so I fully expect them to respond and, continue to improve, learn from the errors and the mistakes, and move forward and be excited about competing this Saturday.
Jump to the left side, Steven.
Coach, there was an early, pick six in that ball game, but when Jalen came to the sideline, what was his demeanor like as you were talking to him talking to you, trying to flush that and move on?
Well, I was up in the box, so obviously I didn't see him face to face, but certainly there was communication, and he was great. He was, able to be 1-0 and move forward, and it was his third play of the game. There was a lot of football left. I'm pretty sure we were able to respond and score a touchdown the next drive, if I remember correctly. So I thought his response was great, and he kept playing, and executed and did his job. So I didn't think that impacted him at all.
Go to Alex in the left middle.
Just philosophically, how do you think about time of possession, if that's a stat you even concern yourself with? And on the flip side of that, what do you think is holding back the running game specific to Haynes and Miller from having maybe more consistent success?
I think the game Saturday was a little bit unique that way relative to running the football. We did put ourselves in a hole early, and we were playing a little bit of catch up throughout the game, and so we didn't get as many opportunities to run the football as maybe we were anticipating. Because I do think that there were some moments where we ran the ball well, and Jam had some good runs, and Justice had some good runs. It just kind of was the course of the game and how it was going. And so, I think that's a point of emphasis, to be more efficient and effective running the football. But I also know that, you have to do whatever's required in the game to try to score points and win. And each game can kind of unfold, a different way, and that's just kind of how the game went, on Saturday. So.
Time for a couple more questions. Start on the left side of Colin.
Hey, Nick, how would you assess kind of the progress over that Jam Miller, Justice Haynes have made over the course of the first 5 games? How have they helped your offense? Would you how do they kind of complement what Jalen Miller in the past game is doing through the first 5?
I think they've both been effective and super helpful in our offense, and I know that will continue to be the case. It's a long season. There's lots of football to still be had, and obviously, they both have had some great moments and found the end zone and helped us. There's no doubt, and I also think they're doing a great job without the ball as well. Some of the perimeter runs that they're involved in blocking, they've been outstanding. Some of the blitz pickup and their eye discipline has been outstanding, and so those are 2 great players, and their attitude's been great, their work ethic's been great, and I know they're going to keep, improving and taking advantage of the opportunities that they get. And so we're happy with where they're at, and just like I mentioned, with everybody else, nobody did well enough, and so I know for everybody, not just those guys, but every position, every coach knows that you got to do better, and find a way to win. And so that's kind of been the message. And I would just say, you asked about time of possession. I didn't answer that. I think ultimately, you want to be in control of the game, and you do that by executing and getting first downs. And so I think some of the lopsidedness relative to that was the 4 possessions where we didn't execute. That would have allowed us to have more opportunities, more plays, and more time of possession. So, I think at the end of the day, you want to be in control of the game. If you score fast, that's part of it. You're not going to stop the guys from doing that. We've had a lot of short scoring drives this season, which sometimes, can, sway the clock one way or the other. But I certainly think you want to be in control of the game and be able to execute and get first downs.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Okay, thanks. Roll Tide.
right, we'll have Coach DeBoer begin with his opening statement, and we'll take questions. Leave your hands up for me, please.
You bet. Good morning, and I know you've heard from the coordinators, and so got a few of those things that you had questions on work through, but just kind of following up on that and in the game, watching the film and all of that from Saturday, just a lot of the same feelings I had, after the game. And I think the feelings, first of all, that the team has, certainly disappointed, upset, fired up, and I think, you're always looking at what the response is. And they came yesterday back, the thing you have to provide as coaches is the answers, an understanding of where we go from here. And I think our staff did a nice job, and I think our guys did a great job responding with the right mindset, with the right attitude, brought some great energy. Probably one of the nice things about having a Sunday where we get together is, we get to move on. Outside of the building, the game gets held on to for not a day, probably not a week. For some people, you hold on to it for the rest of your life. But for these guys, they don't get the choice, and we as a staff and them together have to move on. And we've done that after yesterday. Understanding where we got to get better. We know we're a work in progress, not a finished product by any means, and that showed up on Saturday. But the key is that we continue to improve, and that's one of our core values is to have a relentless pursuit of continuous improvement. The guys showed that they want to do that, and sticking together and owning it in every way, and that's staff to every player on the football team. So proud of that part, and there's each side of the ball, all phases of the game, where we can continue to just, keep building. We have a great football team. I'm convinced of that. I have no doubt of that. I believe in these guys. I believe in them more when I see the resiliency that they have, whether it's during the games that we've played, not just this last game, but different games. The way that they prepared that leads to the passion that comes out on the football field and that resiliency. They got fight in them. They want to win bad. They want to uphold all the traditions of Alabama football, and no one feels worse about this than all of us here in this building, the football team and our coaches. So we're looking forward to South Carolina here this next week. Coach Beamer, continue to build on the program there, doing some really nice things. Physical football team, and they're coming off of a tough game as well with Ole Miss there, and things not going their way. So we know it's going to be another fight here in the world of the SEC. Questions?
Thanks, Coach. Start with Nick Kelly on the front right.
Yeah, Tyler Booker mentioned when talking about just a lack of discipline at times that, focus he thought was an issue. How would you assess the focus of this group during the game?
I guess, is there more on the lack of discipline part? What was it referring to?
I just asked him, in moments where discipline wasn't good, what contributed to that? And said
Yeah, when you come out on the short end, everything gets amplified, right? You look into everything on another level. And so in regards to that, since that was the question, you can point to every little thing that happened and it being a lack of focus or discipline and having to do it better. And I think what it really comes down to is doing it better over and over. And when we gave ourselves little room for error with the way the game started, right? They go down and put a nice drive together, and then we have the ball bounce off the helmet, goes for an interception for a touchdown, and so we leave ourselves very little room for error, knowing that the plan that they already had in place, because it showed up on film in weeks prior to playing us, is that they will play ball control offense. They'll let the clock run down, shorten the game. They get a lead even more so, and then the whole taking them out of their game is going to be harder to do because we're playing from behind. So offensively, we had to kind of probably lose some of the balance that we thought we could have offensively with a run pass. We had to speed up the game, try to add more possessions. We still only got 9 in the game, and that's having sped up the game. That's getting drives at the end of each half where we're trying to move the ball, quickly. And Yeah, so the little mistakes are always going to be, the mistakes are always going to be looked at as areas where the focus or the discipline wasn't there. But I tell you, our guys prepared. All the noise outside the building, I thought our guys did as good of a job as they could. Everyone's human, so I mean the pats in the back or whatever they got, but I thought that they were focused on the right things all week long. The effort, the work that was put in seemed like a really good, solid week. The ball literally didn't bounce our way a couple times. We have to make our own breaks and do a better job of making that happen to where the ball ends up in our hands, whether it's forcing turnovers or making sure that we don't put the ball on the ground and turn it over ourselves. So if all those things are part of that question, then I guess that would add to what he said after the game. Book has a good pulse of everything that's happening on the team, and so I trust that, and we've had great conversations. The whole leadership group since Saturday. I feel like we're in a good spot.
Charlie, right side.
Yeah, hey, Coach. Just what do you say to fans who maybe wanted to see some more frustration from you after a loss like that?
That wanted to see what?
More frustration from you after a loss like the one on Saturday.
Oh, I'm extremely frustrated. We all are, but we're not going to lose our cool over that. We understand, what happened, and a lot of what I see in the response, even in the locker room. I guess, are you talking like press conference afterwards or something? That's really the only time you could have seen me, I guess. I think that's me seeing what already is happening in 30 minutes, 20 minutes after the game's over. And I saw extreme frustration. I saw guys wanting to stick together, wanting to still do something special, believing in each other, expressing that. I had my part in there too, where we understood what happened, and that it's not up to our standard and how we had to proceed forward. And so yeah, we are all extremely frustrated. But we aren't going to sit and lose our cool because I don't think that's the right way to go about it. There's a time and place for everything, and again, we're still early in the season. We left ourselves a little less wiggle room to achieve some of the goals we have, but those goals are still out there, and we need to just focus on what our whole mindset is always to improve every single day, and that's never going to change. And to improve, I think you got to have things in perspective, and focus on the right areas, and our whole team is doing that.
Jump to the left side and Chase.
Coach Womack mentioned that Malachi had been held to account by the coaching staff to some extent. Is there anything that you can add to that? And was this a situation where a suspension would be considered?
No, we have handled it, and I'm just going to say this about Malachi. What he did, he has gone above and beyond in owning, taking ownership in it. And this is pretty much immediately after the game to this morning. Things that are all prompted by him, but also part of just our conversations. The guy, I think the thing I want to make sure Bama fans know is that this guy has been rock solid and been at a critical piece, along with others. There are some others as well, of keeping this thing together since January. Okay, when a lot of guys chose to leave, this guy stood firm. This guy loves Alabama football. He works relentlessly out there every single day on the football field. It's the passion that I hope, questions asked about me and the passion and frustration. That's what you saw from him. And so, yeah, there's some things that, he regrets and wishes probably didn't do. Yeah, but he's owned up to it, and we've handled it internally, and still handling it internally. And so, he's a first-class guy. He is out in the community weekly, as just part of who he is, doing things to give back, understanding the platform he has. A lot of eyes are on our program. A lot of eyes are on him. And, this guy plays hard for himself, his teammates, but this program means so much to him. And so, doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it right by any means what some of the actions were, but I want people to understand also that he's had my and our back since day one, and there comes a point too where sometimes as things play out, you got to have your guys back, as well, and understand that we all make mistakes and we all, just got to own up to it, and we're doing that, and we will continue to move on.
Go to Kennington on the right side of the middle.
Through 5 games, this has been one of the most penalized teams in college football. How do you go about correcting that going into the second half of the season?
Well, I think we were doing a better job even in the game the other night. Obviously, there was the 15 yards at the end, right? The penalties, I think, in the moments is probably the biggest thing. And some of those calls are tough ones to have happen to you. I'm looking at Q coming in and trying not to, really hit the quarterback in an aggressive manner, but the penalty's there. There's not a recklessness about it as he's trying to get after the quarterback. He's just trying to do what he's supposed to do, and I'm trying to think of a couple other. There's going to be penalties that happen, and I don't feel like that was the major play in what hurt us. It's a part of it. Just like anything, I said earlier, when you do come out short, you end up amplifying everything. But I think there's execution and just things that we could have done better. We need to make sure we don't turn the ball over. We need to get the ball in our possession. So again, we always talk about those things post game in our follow-up. We did that Sunday. We talked about the penalties and just continuing to make sure we're working and focused on on that. And I think we had a couple games early, right, where the numbers really stacked up against us, and that's not helping our average, I guess, per game. Again, is it where we want it to be? No. Is last week's game where we want it to be? No. But I think that was a small part of it. All those little parts add up, and that's why you get what you got on Saturday.
All right, let's go to the left side over here, Michael.
How would you assess the way the defense adjusted during the game, and how involved are you in that process?
Yeah, we're always talking, and I'm, seeing whether it's taking a look on the iPad or just conversations with Coach Womack. I think the key with anything, and that's including our team, is that not overreact. Understand exactly why what is happening, and you have adjustments built into your game plan, and so it might be mixing things up, but you also got to make sure that you're just executing against what you're seeing, and sometimes it might be something a little bit different, and you just need to have another opportunity against that look with the call you made defensively too, just to be able to execute better. So, you're always going to look back. Again, everything gets amplified. So you're always going to look back and say, well, we could have done this earlier or more or whatever it might be. Offensively, you do the same thing. And so, I know we've had those conversations, not just during, but after. And, again, the worst thing you can do is panic. And we have a defense that has shown had a lot of success here, through 5 games. And there's just little bits and pieces of what we got to do. We really, in the second half, I thought we did a much better job on first down and second down. The game was a first down game the first half. They put themselves in better situations. The second half, we just had to do a better job of getting off the field on third down.
Time for 2 more questions, starting with Ryan on the way.
Coach, your coaching record's well documented, a limited amount of losses. For your first loss at Alabama, what's kind of your message? Is it back to the drawing board? You said don't panic, or do you kind of just stay the course?
Yeah, that's exactly the words that I was going to say, is you stay the course. That's what the message is to the team. Now, stay the course, right? But everything is always, just digesting what happened, having some perspective, and having the answers for the guys. That's what we have to make sure we do as coaches, so that we can walk away understanding what we can control, how we need to fix it, And just knowing that the next game, there's going to be different matchups that are strengths for us. There's also going to be different matchups and ways that an opponent attacks us. And I'm not just talking offensively, but defensively. And we got to be ready. This position group can't get, one position group who had success can't get, all comfortable. I don't think we have, because you're the one that might have the tough matchup the next week. And as a team, that's what it's all about. You got to continue to work on your area, keep it within the team concept, stay the course, and just keep fighting, keep playing, and stick together. That's to me the biggest thing, and I've seen nothing but that here, in the last 24, 48 hours.
All right, we'll finish up with Tony on the front left here.
We spoke with Kane about it. Sorry, but Jaheim opting out, did that come as a surprise to you? Did you have a conversation with him about that, and how did that kind of play out?
Yeah, Jaheim, felt like it was going that way. I think the thing you also have to understand is there's other elements to this, right? There's health elements, there's life elements, and so I was, I love these guys. They work hard, and Jaheim's choices and things. So there's reasons for that, right? And so, he notified, has notified and continued to be in communication here with us, and kind of felt like it was maybe going that direction, not just today or yesterday or just here in the last few days. So, we move forward with the guys that really are able to help us win, and focused on our program, and as we go through this, and I don't want to put finality to it, but always going to want what's best for all people, and Jaheim's one of them.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Awesome. Roll Tide.